A FISA warrant is a special type of surveillance warrant that allows the FBI and other agencies to spy on foreign agents or terrorists inside the U.S. But how is it different from a regular warrant, and why is it so controversial? A regular warrant is issued by a judge based on probable cause, which means there must be some evidence that a crime has been or will be committed by the person or place to be searched. A regular warrant also requires notice to the target of the search, unless there are exceptional circumstances. A FISA warrant, on the other hand, is issued by a secret court called the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, or FISC. The FISC consists of 11 federal judges who are appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The FISC operates behind closed doors and does not allow third parties to submit briefs or challenge its decisions. A FISA warrant does not require probable cause, but only reasonable suspicion that the target is a foreign power or an agent of a foreign power who may possess or transmit foreign intelligence information. Foreign intelligence information is broadly defined to include any information that relates to the national security or foreign affairs of the U.S. A FISA warrant also does not require notice to the target of the surveillance, unless the government intends to use the information obtained in a criminal prosecution. A FISA warrant can authorize various types of surveillance, such as wiretapping, email interception, physical searches, and more. A FISA warrant can last up to 90 days if the target is a U.S. person, or 120 days if the target is a non-U.S. person. The government can renew a FISA warrant multiple times, as long as it shows that the surveillance is still necessary and appropriate. The FISA warrant process was created in 1978 as a way to balance the need for national security with the protection of civil liberties. However, critics have argued that the process lacks transparency, accountability, and oversight, and that it has been abused by the FBI and other agencies to spy on innocent Americans without proper justification. One example of such abuse was revealed in 2022 by an order from the FISC that was unsealed, and the order showed that the FBI repeatedly misused its access to a database of communications collected under Section 702 of FISA, which allows the government to collect communications between certain foreign targets outside the U.S. and anyone they communicate with. The order showed that the FBI searched this database for information on people who were present at the Capitol during the Jan. 6, 2021 insurrection, and people who were arrested during the racial justice protests in June 2020, without having any valid foreign intelligence purpose or evidence of a crime. The order also showed that the FBI violated its own policies and procedures, and failed to comply with previous orders from the FISC to correct its errors and prevent further violations. The order stated that these violations raised serious concerns about the FBI's respect for its constitutional and statutory obligations. The FBI claimed that these violations were due to confusion and lack of training among its personnel, and that it had taken steps to improve its compliance and oversight. However, these revelations could undermine public trust in the FBI and its use of FISA warrants, and could also jeopardize its ability to obtain reauthorization from Congress for its warrantless surveillance program before it expires at the end. The FBI has a powerful surveillance tool that allows it to collect the communications of foreign targets without a warrant. This tool is called Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA. But this tool is not supposed to be used to spy on Americans or to investigate domestic crimes. The FBI must have a valid foreign intelligence purpose or evidence of a crime to search the database of Section 702 information. However, the FBI has repeatedly misused this tool to target people involved in the Jan. 6 insurrection and the 2020 racial justice protests, according to a court order that was made public in May. The court order, issued by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which oversees the spy activities of the U.S. government, revealed thousands of violations by the FBI of its own standards and the law. For example, the FBI searched for information on someone it believed was present at the Capitol during the Jan. 6 attack, but the search had no analytical, investigative or evidentiary purpose. The FBI also searched for information on more than 100 people who were arrested during the racial justice protests in June 2020, but the court found that the FBI did not have a valid foreign intelligence purpose for most of these searches. These violations show how the FBI distorted reality with FISA warrants, by searching for foreign intelligence without any justification, violating the privacy rights of U.S. citizens and potentially using the information for improper purposes. The court order also exposed the FBI to criticism and scrutiny from Congress and civil liberties groups, who called for reforms and oversight of the surveillance program. The FBI claimed that most of the violations were due to confusion among its workers and that it had taken corrective measures to improve its compliance and training. But these measures may not be enough to prevent future abuses or to restore trust in the FBI's use of FISA warrants. The FBI's abuse of power and lack of oversight in using FISA warrants to spy on Americans has serious consequences and implications for the nation. In this section, we will discuss how the FBI's actions undermine public trust, threaten civil liberties, and jeopardize the reauthorization of the FISA warrant program by Congress. First, let's talk about public trust. The FBI is supposed to be a law enforcement agency that protects the American people from crime and terrorism. However, by misusing FISA warrants to snoop on protesters, political donors, and even a presidential campaign, the FBI has shown that it is willing to violate the law and the Constitution to pursue its own agenda. This erodes the public's confidence in the FBI's integrity and impartiality, and makes people question whether they can trust the FBI to respect their privacy and civil rights. Second, let's talk about civil liberties. FISA warrants are the most intrusive and secretive form of surveillance that the government can use against its own citizens. They allow the FBI to access all kinds of private communications and data without a warrant or probable cause. They also bypass the normal judicial oversight and safeguards that are supposed to protect Americans from unreasonable searches and seizures. By abusing FISA warrants, the FBI has violated the Fourth Amendment rights of thousands of innocent Americans, and chilled their First Amendment rights to free speech, assembly, and association. Third, let's talk about the reauthorization of the FISA warrant program by Congress. Section 702 of FISA, which authorizes the warrantless collection of foreign intelligence from U.S.-based communications providers, is set to expire at the end of this year unless Congress renews it. Section 702 is a valuable tool for national security and counterterrorism, but it also poses a risk of abuse and misuse by the FBI and other agencies. The recent revelations of widespread FBI abuse of FISA warrants have sparked outrage and alarm among lawmakers and civil society groups, who are calling for reforms and safeguards to prevent further violations of Americans' rights. If Congress fails to enact meaningful changes to Section 702, it may face a backlash from the public and lose its credibility as a check on executive power. In conclusion, the FBI's abuse of power and lack of oversight in using FISA warrants to spy on Americans has serious consequences and implications for the nation. It undermines public trust in the FBI, threatens civil liberties, and jeopardizes the reauthorization of the FISA warrant program by Congress. The FBI must be held accountable for its actions, and Congress must ensure that FISA warrants are used only for legitimate purposes and with proper oversight.